Hi everyone, it's Charlena here with another Tuesday Talks. Oh my goodness, this video is going up way later than I intended to because I've been grappling with what the topic should be. I've been really thinking about it all week and all of today, and I just could not come to a conclusion. So this is probably going to be long. Bear with me. I always try to weigh what is going to be useful to you and interesting and beneficial and something that has to do with your health and wellness. And I try to be kind of light, and I understand why most businesses want to be apolitical because he wants to wade into any of that quagmire. However, I just felt like, you know what? No, I'm going to really talk about what has been on my mind because I passionately believe that health and wellness is intimately tied to your environment and what's going on in your life, and that mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual health are really one thing, and that it is only working on one plane when you just want to address physical health. It doesn't make sense. It's not a holistic approach in any way. And the reality is, if you're an American, you survived the beginnings of a coup. That's what it is. And just because it's the American way not to really truly deal with things or talk about things or acknowledge things, and we just kind of keep going. Bills to pay, businesses to run, kids to take care of, school lessons to learn, money to make, keep it moving. Kind of the American way. But that's not good for our health. It just isn't. And we are living in fraught times. And I think we need to be able to acknowledge that and plan for that and support ourselves and our friends and families. And so I've been thinking a lot like, okay, what do I mean by this? And I come up with kind of three things that I think it would be wise to focus on now and for the next, I don't know, period of time. And I'm the first thing would be your spiritual practice or your spiritual path. And I've kind of been thinking a lot about like we're already primed in some ways, most of us, for that. Like if you really do a deep dive into your belief systems, and I kind of think I like do a survey of some of the common ones that I know of or that I somehow maybe align with in some ways. So if you've had a fairly orthodox fundamentalist evangelical Christian type of upbringing, and you are a student of the Bible and that is part of your belief system, then you're already primed for there's going to be a time period where you might need to be expecting divine judgment or unrest that comes before that. Now, let's say you're someone who is like, the age of Aquarius is upon us. It is here. It is going to be birthing a new world. We are going to be vibrating higher into a better, kinder, more loving frequency and world. Okay. That belief system of birthing a new world comes with unrest. What's birth? Birth is pain. Birth is crisis. Birth is bloody. Birth is transformation. Sometimes birth comes with death. It doesn't always come with life. Birth is a fraught, scary time. So is a time of divine judgment. Both of those belief systems make you really stop and think about shifting unsustainable times. Or maybe you're someone who's like, rise of the divine feminine. It's happening. Rise of the divine feminine. New ways of being and thinking. Mother Earth is going to make herself known, shake some of us off, because it's not sustainable the way we've been living and treating her. That sounds a little fraught too. Sounds fraught. Or you could be a student of history. Maybe you're a student of history and financial systems and things of that sort, and you're like, you know what, income inequality. It reaches a certain point. It doesn't matter the time, the country, the civilization, the peoples. Every time income inequality reaches this certain point, revolution, like gravity, unstoppable. It happens. Some people are like, yeah, and it's looking a little bit bleak as far as the extreme income inequality in this country and other major countries. So those people are looking around like, okay, yikes. Or maybe you're someone who is a banker and you're in finance and you're like, this is all fiat currency. And what happens to fiat currency no matter what? Like gravity. It goes on for some time, but then fiat currency always has its day, and then its day is done. I'm not saying any of these things are going to happen. All I'm saying is we all know to look for certain signs. That means things are shifting in a way that what's old is never coming back. And I would say when you're living through attempted coup of a world power, a global pandemic, whether you believe it's real or not, or whether it is real or not, either way, either it's a global pandemic, yikes, scary, or it's a faux global pandemic, yikes, scarier. Both, not a good thing, not something that makes you feel like all cozy and wonderful and like everything's safe and sustainable and business as usual. It's not business as usual. It's not going to be business as usual, even though business will continue on as usual. And no one is going to come on your television and tell you, prepare for this or do this or do that until it's a little bit too late to be doing those things. So I think one of the most important things, like I said, I feel like there's 3 things that I personally am going to be focusing on. And one is whatever your spiritual path is. So whether it's meditation or walking in nature or reading your Bible, attending a church, a synagogue, a kingdom hall, wherever you go, whatever you do, whatever makes you feel spiritually connected, you should be in that practice. I personally have not been in my practice. I'm going to admit it. That's a grave mistake when living through fraught times like we're living in. It heightens your intuition. And hey, maybe you're an atheist, although they say there's no atheists in foxholes. I don't know about that. But even if you're an atheist or someone who is agnostic, then maybe it's time to really be a student of the Stoics or find some sort of philosophy that you can really hang on to when things continue or as things continue to be very unstable in all realms of life. Your spiritual or your philosophical path, now's the time to be on it and to strengthen it, to temper it. 2, independence. So one of the things I love about herbal medicine and natural remedies is the sense of independence it gives you, the sense of self-sufficiency and self-reliance, because our healthcare system, however, whatever you believe of it, if it suddenly were to falter or if something happened with the grid or with civil unrest or anything, you can't easily get to a doctor, you can't easily get your medicines. What did we find out when the pandemic started? Oh, well, most of our pharmaceuticals are made by, or chemicals, things that we need that we import from India and China. So when the supply chain is messed up, and when it's messed up for not just, 8 weeks or 6 weeks, are you going to be able to get your pharmaceuticals? So it's important for me to be able to sufficiently take care of my health and the healthcare needs of my family, even if the healthcare system falters. And that's why I like herbs, and that's why I want to learn all this stuff and use all this stuff. But we need to cultivate independence in like so many different realms of our life, even if it's just like short-term independence. Like, let's say something happens and you can't get to the store for 5 days. Can you survive? Do you have enough? Let's say something happened and it's 5 weeks without electricity, or 5 weeks without access to the store, or 5 weeks gas crisis where you can't get gas for your vehicles, or 5 months, 5 weeks, 5 days. How long can you survive if these systems that we're all so dependent on crater? Everybody's going to have a different answer. the time to think about that isn't when everything's already falling apart. Now, I wouldn't call myself a prepper. I think too many preppers trade on like fear and scaremongering to get views and to sell things. But that doesn't mean it's not wise to be able to be prepared for just anything at this point. The other thing is, people aren't going to tell you to do this. I mean, they're just not. Like, you think your neighbors, your friends, your family, well, maybe your family, who are stockpiling food or medicine or guns or anything like that, are telling you, or going to be out on the internet boasting about that. No, they're not. That's not very wise. That's kind of actually stupid. So people aren't going to necessarily be telling you this. It's up to you to know to do this. The media isn't even going to really be telling you, because the media doesn't necessarily have any interest in keeping you informed and safe. And to wait for them to tell you to do something or how to think about something is a grave mistake. I'm not saying that everything they say is a lie. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that you can't blindly trust them, and you should not blindly trust anything they say about any topic ever. You always have to keep your own counsel about everything. And that's part of cultivating the independent thinking, including people we might love and idolize. I mean, President Obama would be a good example. There's so much about that man that I think is fabulous. I think he's brilliant. There's other things that I very much disagree with him, and he definitely went to Flint and drank the Flint water. Now, some people could say, oh, well, he drank it after they put filters on it to say it was safe. He still went there and drank the water, whether it was filtered or not. It still wasn't safe. So leaders, people who we respect and admire, might go on television and do things and tell us to do things, and we think that it's safe because they did it. You're going to have to keep your own counsel. People, especially people who have things to lose, who may have beliefs that go against the mainstream media, they're not going to be telling you. They're not going to tell you that they're resisting some program or some agenda or don't agree with it. They're just going to quietly not go along with the program. So you're going to have to cultivate independent thinking about everything and independent research. Now, I'm not saying, not to listen to, or denigrating all experts. We value expertise. There's nothing wrong with taking into consideration what experts tell us to do. What's not wise, though, is just to blindly believe any government institution or mainstream media. I'll just move on to the third thing. Community and tribe. So it doesn't matter how independent-minded you are or how prepared you are for different eventualities. No one can do it alone. Like I said, I'm happy with my knowledge. I think I would be able to be of service to my community in a crisis situation as far as natural remedies and medicine go. Do I know anything about setting a perimeter, about creating, safety barriers, about ammunition, about hunting, about this, about that, about very limited knowledge on all that stuff? Can I build shelter? Do I know all the different ways to filter water and things like that? No. Those things take a community. You need to be tied in, not to just your online community, but you need to be tied in to your actual physical community, whether it's your spiritual, whether it's your congregation, whether it's your neighbors, you really know your neighbors, whether it's your, fraternal family, whether you're a Mason or in a Moose Lodge or Elk Lodge or whatever. Like, you need to be tied into community, because if things really go sideways, it doesn't matter who you are and what skill set you have. You'll be better off if you have a community of people that you can depend on. So that's my only message as far as all this goes, is if there ever was a time in our life to be on our spiritual path and keeping up with our spiritual practice, the time is now. If there ever was a time to be ready to actually live your values and what you believe in and to behave accordingly, whether it's if you're people who are always like wanting to resist authoritarian regimes or technocratic regimes or a crumbling of morality and values, or if you wanted to uplift humanity with a more kinder, sustainable outlook, whatever it is, it's going to take all of us. We all need to be on our value system and living it, for sure. We need to be cultivating independent thinking and independent behavior to go with it, because many of us pay lots of lip service to independent thinking. We can list off in history things that have happened, ways and times we shouldn't have trusted our government, or corporations, or this person or that person. But then when it comes down to it, we think the way everybody else thinks, and we do what they do, and we all fall in line. Now is not the time for falling in line. And now is not the time to leave your health and your well-being dependent on large, unstable institutions. And it's also definitely not the time to be tribeless. You need to cultivate your community and your tribe and be willing to cooperate with each other. Wild times. It's wild times. You have to acknowledge it. It's wild times. Wild times called for wild people. It's just what it is. I'll be back next Tuesday with a much happier and shorter Tuesday Talks. And it'll be kind of part 2 to what I was talking about last week, which was cryotherapy and intermittent fasting, because as soon as I turned off the camera, I remembered 2 major things that I forgot to talk about regarding that. So come back for that. That's it. Hope you have a great week. Bye.